we have the footage.
And yes, we do have the footage. Let me get my footage up here. And we've got the like, share, and subscribe button I'd like to remind everybody to mash. There's a PayPal link down in the details section below for anybody who wants to share some love. And the StreamYard link is down there for anybody who wants to join the panel. We're going to go over some more insanity shorts and see where we're at in society again today. Well, how you doing tonight, John?
We're doing good. These are great shows. Today's show was good about the terms and concepts, especially if you put them into the right context. That's why it makes sense to do this.
Yeah, and that's why I do it, you know, and I show the sources so we can get a good objective view of what's actually going on and use our own discernment to come to that logical reason. And so if you guys missed that, I did a video this morning at 10 a.m., the one prior to this one. So go check it out, about financial institutions and the U.S. accounts. So let's get into it. I lost my screen share here.
That's insanity right there, Keith.
Yeah.
Just the financial institutions.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And one of those financial institutions is the public education system, in case you didn't understand that. And they are the base foundation according to the school zoning and ordinance plans. That's what sets up your voting districts, your commercial districts, all of it. Residential districts, classifications, rich class, middle class, lower class, all of it. So let's take a listen to this young man.
And educate his own teachers. Check it out.
Despite the board's attempt to deny it, schools are quickly becoming a place where promoting activism is actually more important than promoting education. There are
Understand what he just said. Promoting activism instead of education. They're getting involved in the activism of upholding people's rights and stuff. That's not their position. Go ahead, John.
And then the key word may have been promoting. Why are they promoting anything, Keith?
Exactly. That's why I say it's a commercial venue. No matter how you look at it, every instrumentality of the United States, being the United States as a corporate entity, is a instrumentality in commerce. Pure and simple.
Political signs all over RHS about specific races that matter, specific sexual orientations that matter. But when I questioned the RHS administration about how these signs were political, they told me that they were supporting human rights. So when I questioned why the equity statement couldn't represent all students, they told me that to even ask that question was outlandish and offensive. They told me, quote, whites have a pretty good situation right now, unquote. So is that not racism? Disregarding my question merely because of the color of my skin. To be honest, after enduring a year of the people in charge telling me that I'm a racist and I'm privileged, I've never noticed race more. Now, members of the board, I want you to take a good look at yourselves in the mirror tonight and ask, are you really standing up for the equality of all people? Or are you just pushing a damaging political ideology on our students?
Political ideology. So again, if you looked at, saw the video this morning, that financial institution, that's based on activity that you do locally in a political subdivision known as a city, township, municipality, county, anything under a state. Interesting aspect from a young child in his teens. Can't imagine that he's much more than that. The next one. Oops.
Narcissists are psychologically fragile, and when they fall apart, there are going to be certain predictable things they're going to do that illustrate the turmoil that's on the inside. First, what they'll do is they'll claim the victim's role. Look at what you're doing to make my life absolutely miserable. Next, they begin to invalidate. You don't even know what you're talking about anyway. Why would I listen to someone as dumb as you? Then, in addition, they're going to go into a punishment frame of mind. I'll make you regret ever coming against me. Beyond that, they'll call your confidence into question. They might say something like, I wish people knew the real you just like I do. And then in addition, they're going to remind you that you're damaged goods. When you see these evidences of
That's
them losing,
gaslighting.
falling apart, rejoice. It means that you're no longer playing their game.
Absolutely, gaslighting. I'm glad you caught that, because see, that's one of the things I learned about Eminem when I watched his movie 8 Mile, and he sat there and just threw all the trash out about him, and then they didn't have anything to say. So that's the thing with this record. Yeah, 94 cases. It looks like shit, doesn't it? It is. I'm the one that created it. I'm the one that did it. I have to admit that. Now the only thing we have left is to go move and progress from that. That's the only thing left. So the next one I've got.
To save her baby, this fox took a risk and ventured into human territory. She kept making noises, and when a family saw her unusual behavior, they figured she must be in trouble. So they followed her and found out her kid was stuck in a wall crevice. The little fox was in bad shape, probably stuck for days. The woman carefully pushed the stuck part to free it. The rescue wasn't hard, but without human help, the fox wouldn't have survived much longer. It was a pitiful sight. The mother and daughter decided to help further. They set up a little home for the fox, where the daughter played with it every day and fed it regularly. Gradually, the fox got used to its new surroundings and regained its health, but it was time for it to return to nature. Just when they thought the story was over, the fox's mother, in gratitude, let down her guard completely. She allowed them to pet her and even played with them. She followed them to the fields to help catch field mice. Maybe this was her way of showing thanks. It's amazing how animals, even without speech, can express gratitude in their own ways. To save
Now, I don't know if that story is, if the video or the story is either one true, but putting them together, it gives us a concept of taking care of other creatures. That there is some kind of basic communication there by our actions alone, which seem to speak louder than any kind of words that we create. I mean, you can say boo to a bear all you want. It's probably not going to do anything. And your physical reactions and prior actions to getting involved in such situations are usually based on a central foundation of knowledge that comes with nature. You know, I think that's what we're losing, is our nature. We're losing the very nature of our being as stewards to all creatures, not just in helping them, but learning from them so we can help them and learn how to help ourselves in that same process. The earth is our medicine cabinet.
And Keith, our bodies were so awesome that they built themselves from a single cell. So
Yeah.
that means we could continue that with learning, and you know, I mean, there's just endless possibilities, I think.
Well, yeah, it's a progression that we can't see physically, but in the metaphysical sense, it's imaginable and therefore gives us some kind of logic path to make valid presumptions objectively, that if this, then this, or if this and this, then this, just like I spoke about in the Socratic Logic series. That's the basic observance of life that I spoke about. If we can learn to get back to that natural instinct of inherently knowing what's good and bad by simply observing what happens in life and paying particular attention to it, we'll find a lot of things that we can use to our own effects in our own abundance, prosperity, replenishment, all that kind of stuff. And it goes to say, you know, if we can treat other creatures in nature like that, creatures that most people believe are dangerous, predators, why is it we can't treat ourselves like that? Why is it when we find a child that's been abandoned or something, that we have this inherent necessity to track down the parents and confine them to some sort of guilt? I understand there's a moral issue there, but on that same moral objective, what about that balance in nature where we treat creatures like this better than we treat ourselves? Why is it that we have this need inherently for some kind of retribution against each other? That seems to just go against my grain, is all I'm saying.
And why are all these books telling us how to do it? Think about that, Keith.
Yeah.
A million self-help books. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're good intention. But doesn't that say something about our society? That we have to have 200 books on how to behave?
Yeah, and that's why I, do the research I do into psychology, as well as the epistemology, etiology, and etymology. I've been subjected to that damn competency test 3 times in my life, and each time they subjected me to it, the results got better and better. So I can't imagine if they want to do it again, and I invite all of them to come join us. Why don't we all do a competency test? 5 CFR 575.102 talks about those very competencies to know what your job is. I'm learning day by day what your job is, and I guarantee you're doing it wrong according to the plain language in the writing. It's that simple. Get an English major in here, please. That's my witness. So let's take a look at this one. It says, imagine if Disney aired this today, part 2. Let me reset it.
He's a genius! Game time, Misha! You father! You're so sweet. If you were a boy, I'd kiss you. Try and stop me, pal. Well, then take off the dress, because I can't hit a woman.
Zach, why are you wearing a skirt?
I did it so we could win money for bikes.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, now it'd be like, Zach, your new name is Jane.
That was quite a number of years ago, and they've been telling us for a long time. And it's coming out with P. Diddy and various other members of the entertainment industries, whether it be music, movies, theatrics, or whatever. These are roles that they want people to play to help push that agenda. And they're starting them rather young because it's just a role. If that's all you want your life to be, then keep running around with that identification in your pocket, because that's all you're going to end up doing is playing a role. That's part of the problem. They've got you literally on a roll. So let's take a look at the next one.
Because they're gambling, Keith. They're gambling with our records. That's why we had the TV show Chips.
California Highway Patrol. Yep. Chips. What was his name? Oh shit, I can't remember.
Hans.
Anyway, Hans. Yep, Hans. So yeah, we are again, like I said many times, slowly changing and evolving, and as we see it permeating again through our own research and what's coming out in the news and stuff, it seems like it's growing in that front, but it's kind of limited and restricted to those entertainment industries, like I said. At the same time, of course, there's people in the private sector, of course, but the big dogs are up there in that entertainment sector. And this is why I have a problem with people like Snafu that want to run around and say everybody's pedo pogo because they won't do anything about it. No, sometimes the best thing you can do about it is your own thing, and that is what Snafu supposedly claims is exposing the pedos. But the only thing he's doing is claiming everybody's associated to pedos because there's a topic that they discuss. Fear mongering. Pathetic. Anyway, let's get on to the next one.
Eat eggs for breakfast every morning to get my protein. The key is that you buy organic, because organic means that the chickens were fed a vegan diet. So since the chickens are fed a vegan diet, that means that the eggs are vegan. And I also eat organic chicken, because chicken in itself, like, chickens are not animals, they're birds. They're classified as poultry. So anything that comes from chickens is going to be vegan. I just like to take the extra step and make sure it's organic, so I know that those chickens were fed a vegan diet. So it's like It's really extra vegan. Also, a way to be sure that your eggs actually are chicken eggs and they are organic is to make sure that they are brown. If you're buying the white eggs at the grocery store, those eggs are actually from a different type of dinosaur, and they're not vegan. Those come from dinosaurs that are carnivores, so they're going to be full of meat, like meat byproduct. So you want to avoid those at all costs.
Oh yeah! Ouch. Ouch, that one's a little loud. But yeah, that's the level of insanity we're talking about, folks. People that have no thought process and no research skills to actually look into it and no motivation to do so will simply put out a bunch of babble bullshit that even a 7th or 8th grade can tear apart. So we really have to hope that there's better prospects for the future generations than what we just saw. If these are the people that are coming up in our future generations to become leaders of this nation again, I'm telling you, there's no possible way we can have a strong, healthy nation. The next one.
The boss paid an employee he disliked in pennies, but the employee got the sweetest revenge. Andreas worked at an auto repair shop for an owner, Miles Walker, who was downright toxic. Andreas had enough and was ready to quit, but still had the decency to give a 2 weeks notice. His boss refused to give him his last check, so Andreas filed a complaint with the labor department, who gave the boss a call. The boss then shows up to Andreas's house and dumps 100,000 oil-soaked pennies on his driveway, along with a vulgar note and his pay stub. Andreas tells the labor department, and they sue the owner for illegal retaliation. Not only that, they investigated the business further and found that same owner also violated overtime work laws. The boss was ordered to pay Andreas another $9,000 more in owed overtime. But they also found that 8 other workers were also owed for overtime work, all getting between $500 and $14,000 each. A boss paid in.
This is what I'm talking about when we start investigating the record and find out the misappropriations. See, they'll go after those, right? That's a tax issue, folks. Costs are taxed to the defendant. Okay, well, let's see what the IRS says about this, because I myself have not communicated with the IRS about any debts. They do not have my written consent. Seems like we lost John, so let me pop that link down there in case anybody wants to join again. And so what we're looking at is, again, like I've been saying all along, it's just a matter of correcting the record. The record itself will show the misappropriations, and there's not anything that you need to accuse anybody about those misappropriations, because 2 things should happen in that. As it's a matter of equity, it should help correct the debt and offset said debt of the United States that is being posed through those instrumentalities as an obligation or other security of the United States. Pure and simple. Stamp or other representative of value. It's just a matter of keeping peace. Again, under the Trading with the Enemies Act, 50 U.S.C. 4305B2, where it talks about a directive in the interest of the United States and for the account of the United States and for the person making the same, so that no person shall be held liable in any court for full acquittance and discharge. Supposedly, it's a simple process by the plain language. So why aren't we conducting that?
His text said that he was meeting her at Starbucks right now. Oh my God.
Okay. Oh my gosh, is that him?
Yes. What is this? Who is this girl? I read your text message. I saw it, what it said. It said, meet me at Starbucks in 15 minutes. Why did you tell me you were going to work when you were going to be here with this girl? Who is?
Just so you know, some women just can't keep their nose out of things. That's an inherent sign that they already believe that you're going to cheat on them and that you do not respect them.
This girl. Why are you being so calm about this? What are you talking about? I have this all wrong. You lied. You bold-faced lied to me. You told me you were going to work and you're here at Starbucks with some girl I've never seen before in my actual life. I do want to listen for a sec. But first I want to know.
But you don't want to listen.
No.
Yeah, I want to listen, but first I want to keep running my mouth. But first,
Don't tell me to shut. I don't know who you are.
He can't tell her nothing. That's the red flag here.
You have a pregnant mistress and you didn't. Oh my gosh. I do.
He should have been did that.
Yeah, I would like to know what's going on.
She's a party planner. We're planning a surprise birthday party for you. That's why we're here.
Are you kidding me?
No.
planning a surprise birthday party for her, and because she can't manage to even show any decency and respect and faith in her own husband, that she accuses the party planner based on her own emotional presumptions. This is why logic and reason are so inherently important, and we have to get out of those emotions. We are the ones destroying ourselves, people. We're full-grown adults acting like little children. Welcome back, John.
Yeah.
Oops, you muted again.
Because of all these false assumptions, Keith. I mean, it's a long list, but that's a killer, you know.
Yeah, and one of those is, when we start destroying the base of the family unit, and we end up with more and more women being individualized and singular in their adult lives, and learning how to be more and more independent, and know that there's a life beyond marriage. We end up with a lot of women that think they're alphas, and that's a major problem. I don't know any woman that could pose to me, if I was a judge on a bench, that they were afraid of a man if they confronted a man like this, getting irate and stupid and disrespectful. That tells me they're not afraid of the man, because if they were afraid of the man, they'd have respect for what that man could do. And that's where we come from. That's our roots. We're not supposed to have women out in the police force, for crying out loud. That's for goddamn sure. That goes against every instinct in my mind.
And they're everywhere now, Keith. At least in my state.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if you don't like that opinion, but again, the link is down there. Feel free to come up and we'll talk about it. But that's all it is. It's an opinion. So let's look at the next one.
Are you fucking both of these ladies?
This is comedy.
How many diseases y'all got? Y'all look very comfortable doing it, and I am just jealous. But here's a problem. I love you ladies, but it's hard to deal with one. Because my lady, she's chatterbox, So now you got two chatterboxes. Oh, that was the most fire answer. She goes, they talk to each other. I don't know who the mayor of Jacksonville is, but that bitch is fired because everybody is voting for you. Are you fucking both of these ladies?
See, that's how you pimp. That's how you pimp. I just thought that was funny. You had to pull that one up. I hope you enjoy my sense of humor.
Yep, good sense of humor.
Now, sense of intellect here. Pay attention. See, these are the insane reactions we have to come to when confronted by a bunch of idiots. And notice that gas is a bit more potent weapon than most anything else. Sure, they could have come off pop, but I don't think they came off prepared like that. This woman used her instincts with whatever she had in her hand and knew it was volatile. They knew it too. That's instincts. Insanity in modern society will create an intuitive response. She has a higher level of survival than the thugs that tried to rob her. That's what we're looking for, is people like that. Oops. The next one
This man spotted a scared mole stuck in his dog's mouth, so he offered a treat as a trade-off. Unbeknownst to him, his dog had just discovered a trick for an endless supply of snacks, regularly bargaining the same mole for a tasty reward. Seemingly out of nowhere, the mole began popping up day after day, effectively becoming a hostage in the dog's clever ploy for more treats. The persistent pup even rallied its furry friends to repeatedly snatch the hapless mole, turning it into a staple of their treat-fetching operation. The unfortunate mole just can't seem to get a moment's peace, as it's ceaselessly nabbed and bartered by these relentless rascals.
So we see even in the natural world, particularly in dogs, which are domesticated and seem to take on certain almost human traits, particularly learning. Like I've said, I've taught my dogs by hand commands. They don't need any words or verbal communications. They'll do certain things just by hand signals. So it's a matter of an education logic process developing, and we see it even in dogs. They're able to logically reason that if they just go get that damn mole again, they'll get another treat. And it only took them one time to learn it. Then it was just repeat, 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 repeat. The problem with mankind is we keep repeating history that's not good for us. It's time to start learning. Greetings, Iman. How you doing tonight, sister?
All is well. All is well. It is
Good,
what it
good.
is.
Absolutely. Now here's one. A pretty ludicrous claim by a corporate entity trying to shut down a competitor. But check out how this happens.
Called Supermax, but it backfired against them in the funniest way. Basically, in 2017, McDonald's legal team decided that Supermax name was just way too similar to the name of their signature dish, the Big Mac. Even though Supermax had really just been named after its founder, Pat McDonough, and had been around since 1978, McDonald's, the largest fast food restaurant chain in the world by the way, sued them, claiming that Supermax was infringing on their trademark. It was a massive David versus Goliath situation, since Supermax literally hadn't even made it out of Ireland yet at the time. But funny enough, not only did McDonald's lose their lawsuit, the court also ruled that they themselves actually had no right over the Big Mac name in Europe, since they hadn't proved genuine use of it over the past 5 years. So the moment Burger King, McDonald's biggest rival, found out about this, they had an absolute field day. They immediately changed their menus in Sweden to include hilarious new items like a Big Mac but actually big, Burger Big Mac wished it was, kind of like a Big Mac but juicier and tastier, and on and on. This was perfectly legal, and McDonald's could do nothing about it. So McDonald's...
You understand that? It's all about the words, folks. As long as there's a variation, and it seems like 1978 was pretty reasonable time for origin, that they could have very well come up. I'd have to do some further research to see if they came up with a Big Mac or a Super Mac. See, there is a difference, and that distinguishing difference may seem minute, but it is the distinct difference, and this goes to the integrity of a record as well. See, one of the important things that we have to remember, hold on, Imam, the court cases that they bring have to be brought in the name of the real party and interest. And that's one of the things I keep screaming about. It's not me. I'm not the United States citizen, and I'm not the resident. That's the real party and interest. That happens to be property of an agreement between the state and the federal government, known as United States Corporation, for an enumeration at birth to create a record. And that's it. It's the record. The individual's name and number identify the record. Go ahead, Iman.
As you were mentioning about the Mac and the Big Mac or McDonald's, I thought about when you mentioned about 1978. Isn't that the time where people were calling themselves Mac Daddy? Then they had a gentleman, I forgot his name. He went by the Mac something too. So I mean, you know, I just had that thought. I just had to just bring it up.
Yeah. Coincidence, I'm sure.
I took the Pepsi challenge.
Say what?
I took the Pepsi challenge. Remember that? Late 70s. early 80s. He had a test.
Yes, of
Oh,
course. I remember.
the blind test.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
So
million
did
years
you
ago
get,
now.
so did you get it right?
No, I failed it every time I took it, so I gave up.
How many times did they let you take it?
I think I did 4.
They said, he's already had enough to drink. Okay, so let's check out the next one. Homeless man in Florida. This is the despicable actions that we speak about and speak against. There's got to be a time to stop this stuff, and it was a long time ago. This is horrendous. Just because a guy is homeless and fell asleep.
I fall asleep. You want to have me ticket?
No, you're going to take the ride today.
What?
I've decided that you're going to actually go to jail today.
Oh,
I've had
no,
far
please.
too many problems with you.
They belly chained this man so he couldn't protect himself or move his hands and arms. And they took him for a ride.
During the ride, Sanchez-Mayan falls out of the seat. Sanchez-Mayan's attorneys allege what happened was not an accident. Sanchez-Mayan's attorneys say the van driver didn't stop or offer assistance before he arrived at the jail several minutes later.
Is that conscious? Come on, Roberto. Roberto, wake up.
Sanchez-Mayan is now paralyzed, lost both legs, and lives in a nursing home.
That is his sentence now for simply sleeping in a public lot. They sure taught him a lesson.
What are you doing?
Oh, I fall asleep. You want to have me ticket?
No, you're going to take the ride today.
What?
That's just despicable. That they would, like again, the fox that was so diligently taken care of. But for a human life, they don't give a rat's ass. Yet they're the trustees. They're the ones that are supposed to be providing this public service. And again, under American interest and internationally protected persons, that's the very thing that they're violating. Again, despicable. The next one, another one. Roanoke County, West Virginia. Imagine that. Oops, you guys didn't get to see that, did you? Let me do this again. My apologies. I'll never be perfect, folks.
Story we first reported Wednesday night. A Roanoke County police officer is now on leave after leaving his gun in a middle school restroom. The gun was found at Hidden Valley Middle School during a basketball game. An adult found the gun and alerted school staff, who secured the building and called police. It was quickly discovered the gun belonged to an officer who was off duty, who was attending the game. The officer has not been identified, and the department is doing an internal investigation. We are told that includes administrative and criminal reviews.
So again, the negligence and incompetence permeates, and we're the ones that allow it. When we want to be part of that popularity contest and be involved in these big events and take our children to those big events and help incorporate and indoctrinate them into that popularity contest without teaching them the reality, it's because we've lost context of reality. Again, that's why it's so important to recognize your own faults so you can realize your own corrective measures to help improve things. The next one
Who had a better excuse to give up than this guy?
Did you see the disabled veteran that I helped?
No, I did not.
You want to watch it?
Sure.
Hey, let's watch it.
For 15 years, doctors told me I would never walk unassisted again. I was a 47-year-old disabled veteran. Says I fell many times, but I got back up.
It's all about getting back up, right?
You're seeing him trying to walk without his canes and falling down. The attitude to do something, even though it's difficult and in pain, is so damn important. Wow, look at all this weight he's lost. That is crazy, standing on his head. That is crazy. Wow, look how fucking slim he is. That is really amazing. Holy shit. He's running. That is insane. He's not just walking, he's running.
Sprinting.
Holy shit. That is incredible. I'm crying, man.
Dud choked you up, right?
It did.
I told you it was a payoff.
What you're doing is really fucking awesome. It just should be something that everybody does. Who had a bet?
Now, again, I don't know if that story is true, but it certainly puts a light on certain possibilities. And I'm certainly not against them, because I've got my own issues with health that I'm prevailing against. So, blessed as always. Now, the next one is, again, the insanity of people that think they have some kind of power when natural forces should give you a clue, folks. Natural forces should give you a clue that you're making a really dumb decision. And it should be very obvious.
This trucker was driving when this guy decided to brake check him. But he could have never expected what would happen next. Two of his trucker friends came to his rescue, overtaking the reckless driver and blocking his path. That's when the cam driver blocked him in and the truckers exited their vehicles. At this point, the driver had realized that he was about to face the consequence.
This is obviously in a foreign country, but still the same. Like I said, we are slowly becoming Hitler's willing executioners, thinking some policy enforcer will back us up and allow us to do this stupid shit in dangerous situations. And so there's going to be times where people will rise up against your idiocy because it's endangering their lives.
Of his actions. The first trucker approached the driver and after
when I see people in positions of supposed executive authority misusing their discretion and abusing my brother, it's a threat against me. I take it seriously.
After exchanging some words, a fight broke out.
That goes the same for any of the neighbors or anything too. If my neighbors are fighting, I see it as a threat against me. Now I got to figure out which one's the cause of the issue and try to help be part of that solution.
The trucker punched the man and then chased after him.
And of course, that solution isn't to confront anybody about it, but only if it comes to a confrontation with myself. I already have thoughts about it and try to mitigate prior solutions before it happens. Part of observance and logic and reason.
But luckily for him, the other truckers signaled to stop and they let him get back in his car to drive off. He probably won't brake check somebody anytime soon. This trucker...
I would hope not, because I think they doled it out to him quite lightly compared to what the natural forces could have been if he'd have been stupid enough to slam him on a little bit harder. That semi could have crushed him. I urge people to learn how to make better decisions.
In order to announce something that I know will shock all of us. Turns out she's a little bit more liberal, and she actually feels that it's liberating, finally being able to let everyone know about that. That's truly remarkable, Katie. Hey, let me see if I can do it now. Hey, everyone. I just want to come out and let everyone know that I have a beard and enjoy coffee. Yeah, you see what I did there was I revealed something that anybody who's even remotely familiar with me already knows. Yeah, so that's kind of how we feel, Katie, because anyone that's ever seen you report on anything as simple as what you had for breakfast kind of got tipped off to the fact that you might be just a little bit to the left of Karl Marx.
I think he makes a good point there. Katie Kerr's a little bit out there. A little bit out there. In my opinion, of course. I just tend to agree with him. That's all. Oops. This is Nora Vincent.
The author of Self-Made Man. She was a radical feminist who believed men lived on easy mode and tried to prove it by disguising herself as a man for 2 years. Instead, what she found out is that men actually have it very hard, and wrote a book about her experience. The experience was so bad that she had to stop after 18 months because she was starting to hate women due to how bad the women treated her when she believed she was a man.
Men are suffering. They have different problems than women have, but they don't have it better. They need our sympathy, they need our love. They need each other more than anything else. They need to be together.
Do you think women understand what it's like to be a man?
Not at all. No clue. No idea. I really like being me, and I really like being a woman.
Did you like being a woman before, Ned?
I did, but I like it more now because I think it's more of a privilege.
Nora Vincent.
I do now because I think it's more of a privilege. See, I think this is part of the problem when people think that they're being violated in some way. So now they need to put on some kind of front and gather up and associate in a group to demand some kind of rights. And that group mentality kind of, again, takes us away from the individuality that we have in the basic intuition of mere singular survival. We become dependent. Right. We become dependent upon each other in that. And I don't think that's the contingent factor in that is best for our nature. When we become dependent upon the rest of society to be able to stand up for protection, we lose our own sense of protection based on that comfort and convenience of letting somebody else do it for us. That's why we have this police force that is so far out of range, because there are a lot of people that believe they're necessary, but don't understand the limitations of that necessity and take it into convenience and comfort. The next one I've got
Kevin Samuels was right after all. Single women do like to keep other women single.
I didn't cheat on you.
I know that you did.
How do you know this?
The girl you cheated with, I paid her $50 to hit on you.
Why would you pay a girl to talk to me? That's some crazy.
You're literally posting thirst traps, like ad pics, like,
I'm a trainer. I have a.
See, that's just like the other one earlier. When you start seeing these kind of actions, it's telling you that there's no respect there. And this is not just women, it's both men and women. When you start seeing these kind of behaviors where there's no trust and faith, that they have to follow up and test you and stuff like that, that itself is a mischievous act, showing that you don't have trust and faith and all that respect or whatever in the beginning to allow the man to have his role as the leader. You have some kind of unawareness or not knowing, and so that's what you're testing, and that's a wrong way to test it. It's better tested by communicating directly, so you have his base foundation of ideologies and quid pro quo, her base foundation of reality, what each other's role is. Without knowing that, it's like my companion giggles all the time when men try to tell other men or other people what women like. It's kind of hard to tell women what women like if you're a man. It's part of the insanity.
Fitness Instagram.
She literally told me that you took her out to eat.
No.
Yeah, and you guys hooked up. You can't sit here and deny that.
I am denying because it's not true.
Okay. So are you saying she's lying?
I'm saying she's lying.
Let's find out from her.
I pretty much told her that you took me to this really fancy restaurant, and afterwards we went back to my place and hooked up.
See?
Why would you sit here and lie?
I lied because...
So you weren't telling the truth?
I didn't think that she deserved you, so I lied.
Oh my God.
What? Say it ain't so. See, this is part of what I'm talking about. People find it way too convenient and simple just to lie about things, and people will accept it. And that's what they're doing. People will use lies to tear up relationships, and they have no business in the fucking relationship to begin with. Your friends are your friends, but your partner is your partner. The next one, another corrupt cop, and this guy eventually got fired.
Under arrest for what? Under arrest for what?
Failure to comply.
Are you kidding me?
Officer Jose Malta Gonzalez of the Wright City Police Department noticed that several of the vehicles parked in Mr. Hall's driveway did not have license plates. Officer Malta parked his vehicle and began an investigation into the unregistered vehicles.
I'll get a cover for him, man, but you get off my property now.
No.
I'll get a cover for him.
I'm placing ordinance stickers on all of them.
I'll get a cover for him.
See, it's got to be on public property. In your driveway, that's private property. It's across that easement, and it's considered private property according to the facts. No matter if it's in the possession of a public entity or not, that's only legal title, and that's 1/10 of the law. Equity still remains on the private side, so considered as being private property, they have no law that they can use to regulate your automobile on your private property. Now, once you get on the road, that's a different situation. You have to mitigate that through certain presumption, rebuttals of presumptions by being able to bring greater facts that the opposing party can't defeat. I'm going to do a video on passport tomorrow or the next day. We'll discuss it a little bit.
Can't do that. That's not how it works.
Okay, you put your stickers on. Fine.
Okay, then you're going to be cited for it. Okay. I'll take my time. 10-4. Try and get a stop on that GMC Suburban. It just left. That's clear. He wasn't a fan of me being here.
Is it his residence?
I believe so.
His residence? See, that's a common term. That's a misidentification, first and foremost. And if they're going to placate that it's your residence, that's them making a false determination because they don't have the discernment, because they don't have the proper facts. They are basing everything on a presumption. So when you beat that presumption of residence, oops, there goes a lot of things down the drain.
And they don't own the land, Keith, so how could they expect you to have a passport, a license? I mean, who are they to regulate the land, right?
Right, and that's the Constitution. The Constitution doesn't talk about licensing and all that. That talks about Congress shall lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, and they make rules for the government. They don't make rules for the people. They make rules for the government. Nowhere will you find that those rules, codes, statutes, and everything apply to the people. Nowhere.
And threaten me to get off the property.
Under arrest for what? Under arrest for what?
Failure to comply.
Are you kidding me?
Officer Jose Malta Gonzalez of the Wright City Police Department noticed that several of the vehicles parked in Mr. Hall's driveway did not have license plates.
Several of the motor vehicles. So there's one discretion that's off and did not have license plates. And that's because the other discretion was off and believes that they are required to have license plates. These are false statements. And those are presumptions. Particularly if it doesn't have a license plate, that should be an indication that you might be making a false presumption. It's ridiculous. Here's an interesting, horrifying record for a world record holder. Tells you about survival.
and forgot about him. In 1979, an 18-year-old from Austria named Andreas Mihavec was mistakenly arrested for being a passenger in a car crash and was thrown into a holding cell. However, since the 3 cops who had arrested him each assumed that one of the other 2 was supposed to be the one to go and free him, no one ended up freeing him at all. And since Andreas was locked inside a cell in the isolated basement of the police station, none of the police officers had any idea that he was still down there. Over the course of the first few days, Andreas desperately tried screaming at the top of his lungs. Even when Andreas' concerned mom came to the police station to ask where her son was being kept, the cops just kind of brushed her aside. It wasn't until day 17 that they finally agreed to file a missing person report. And a day after that, they finally found Andreas still in his cell after an officer smelled something bad coming from the basement. In the end, all 3 officers involved were fined around $2,000 for their negligence. Despite losing over 53 pounds, Andreas somehow ended up surviving and was awarded around $60,000. To this day, he still holds the world record for the longest survival without food and water at 18 days.
Amazing, huh? See, that just goes to show you that the will of a man to live is a lot more powerful than anybody might have explained to you. And this is one firsthand experience that says so. Now, again, I don't know if this story is true, but again, it gives you that concept to think about. Why are we limiting ourselves when we know there are better things? Why are we limiting ourselves in becoming, again, through repeating of history, becoming Hitler's willing executioners by limiting ourselves to those classic determinations, the classifications, the upper class, middle class, and lower class? Why are we limiting ourselves to that when we should know we are the inherent legacy heir? We are the very intent of that supposed creation in our conceived minds. Again, we think so little about each other, yet we have this tendency to take care of live creatures so much better. Interesting here. And this is, again, to me, it's an egregious act, particularly by a woman. How can women act like this?
This woman didn't want to accept a child next to her on a flight.
I'm not sitting next to a baby for a 2-hour flight.
When this woman wanted
For a 2-hour flight
to take her place with her son, another woman next to her automatically went crazy because she didn't want them to sit next to her.
If it cries, I can't handle that. I'm very noise sensitive.
If it cries, I can't handle it. If it cries. See, this is the mentality of some people in this big old popularity contest. And they look asinine.
Kept on asking dumb questions and reclaimed that she really wants a new seat.
I need a new seat. I want a new seat, ma'am. Put your mask up. Is it loud? Does it cry a lot? No. Stop if the baby's off.
The woman is crying louder than any baby I've heard so far. This woman is literally making the scene, and the baby seems to be sleeping, and there's a likelihood that she would be the one waking the baby up and causing it to cry. Cause and effect, folks. Shut your fucking mouth. Quit your fucking whining. Learn to fucking grow up. You're an adult, and again, like I said, this is a woman. This is an egregious behavior against our very natural intuitions. Greedy, gluttonous, pride, arrogance.
I'm just asking for another seat.
No, you're fine here.
But it gets crazier when this guy comes up and offers the mother this seat in the first class.
He wants to get the seat.
But he got misunderstood at first when the Karen thought she meant him.
Thank you so much.
No. Sit down. Not for you.
Will you? Thank you. Whatever.
Sit down, Karen.
Whatever, just take it. Thank you.
This woman didn't.
There you go. That's that high upper class right there. See, your upper class is by your actions. When your cup welleth over, hey, I'd have been the same kind of guy. You know, I'm the guy that walks up to the father of the local Catholic Church during this mass demo thing, asked him if he's familiar with the scripture, and he says, yeah. And I said, so you're familiar with Genesis 2:7, where it says, man formed, or God formed man of the dust of the ground. And when he breathed the breath of life into his nostrils, man became a living soul. He says, yeah. And I pointed at his mask and I said, you should be ashamed of yourself. And these people just look at you like you're dumb. Huh? Huh? Pathetic. Here we got something on mental strength versus physical strength. Let's see what we got here. I can't remember this one.
Mental strength or physical strength?
Physical strength. Mental
yeah, I
strength
do.
is downstream from it.
I think mental first.
Yeah, I remember this one now, and I'm in agreeing with the mental strength first. You got to have the mental strength to even determine and have the motivation to, say, pick up a physical weight, to do the physical exercise, to make it a physical thing. You know, to have some kind of physical effect. You have to go through the mental thought first to affect the physical. So I'm in agreement. Mental first.
I think mental strength is the #1 issue in the world right now. I think we need to make our young people mentally stronger. They're all gym bunnies.
I don't disagree.
They're all gym bunnies. They're all piling the weights on, but they don't have it up here.
Trying to think your way out of overthinking is like trying to sniff your way out of a cocaine addiction. And you can't really change the mind with the mind. You have to change it with the body first. So going for a walk will do way more for your mood than sitting and thinking about and vacillating about whatever's dealing with you. If I had the choice between a good night's sleep or a hard training session, I would go to the gym because the difference in my mood before and after the gym is way more than before and after a night's sleep. So I don't disagree. The two work simpatico together. But for me, if you do not have a physical practice of some kind and you're struggling with mental health, you need to look at the physical side before you look at the mental side. That is the foundation. That's the raw materials of what your mentality is going to grow out of.
And see, I correlate that to the diet and everything. Not necessarily just going out and having the physical exercise, but the diet, because you have to have the motivation, particularly when you realize your body is going through something that's not good. And you have to have the mental strength to change and adapt, particularly if that adaptation is because you already veered away from your natural diet and stuff and natural activities, the principles of the laws of nature, and are feeding, like I said, on this processed foods, the poison drinks, and sitting down in front of a boob tube watching somebody else's dramatic life. You're actually creating your own problems. That's a physical effect of a mental distraction or something. So again, the strength of the mentality and the physicality will pick up.
Keith, half the game is mental. The other half is being mental.
Yeah, you've got to be able to know that the physical part is just the effect from the origin of the thought. You have to understand your thoughts are the primary thing in everything you do in life, with the exception of your heartbeat, breathing, and certain internal clockwork mechanisms. Other than that, your diet is the next important thing, and that's the creation of a healthy body through your intellect by observing and using your thought processes in your imagination. Like I said, you observe a bear on a hunt, you likely will stay away from a bear. You've never seen a bear in your life, you should still have some kind of instinct because of its nature and its size that, you know, it might not be too kosher to get too close to him. You have an inherent instinct to protect yourself already. And I think people are getting away from that because we have this comfort and convenience that somebody else will protect us for, and that's not what it's for. The police have no duty to protect you. Their service is investigation. Understand, their RAS and investigation procedure under probable cause. That's their process. And it really doesn't have much to do with discernment, because they're just told to do whatever they need to get a paycheck and meet that quota. Another delineation from the humanity of how we're supposed to be treating each other. So the last one I got tonight, guys. Liberals be like.
If I were to ask you a question, should we try to limit suffering on Earth?
Yep.
Obviously.
Okay. So if I tell you that the majority of abortions that occur, the baby feels pain, should we probably stop doing that?
Yep. Oh my God.
Well, it's not that simple, obviously.
You can't make this shit up.
Wow.
If I
Absolutely disgusting. We have, like I said, the heart itself is the first thing that forms in the womb, and in that heart we have neurological cells that then go on and start creating other parts of the body, including the brain. Your stomach has its own neurological center, your liver, all your main organs have its own neurological center. Those neurological centers relate to nerve endings that are located throughout your body from the very beginning. That's why some of these babies suffer some kind of trauma and stuff if mom gets knocked down or falls down a set of stairs. Even though they're cushioned in the womb, there's some kind of disturbance that causes a neurological shift that they sense some kind of danger, something that was very volatile. That can be tragic to a fetus. It has a memory. It already has neurological cells. Even though we don't remember that kind of stuff, it is subconscious. It's a subconscious imprint. So anyway, with that, that subconscious imprint, kind of like a subliminal message, that's what I did this for. My own little private little social experiment. And so far, I'm getting results that I guess I didn't really expect. I actually expected people in the public to say something about it, and yet they haven't. So I'm actually being forced to explain it to certain people that I'm going to be working with. Like you noticed my appearance in the city council, and I mentioned Hitler's willing executioners. I'm not going to back down, folks. We have to learn to grow up and be big boys and girls and learn how to have that compassion, empathy, sympathy, and apathy when we need to. We have to learn how to discern that, know what's right and wrong, and know that certain actions are done with negligent intent and are punishable and should be punished in some manner. But I'm not here for retribution. So maybe the best punishment is actually the true benefit and enforcing some kind of continuing education. Again, I think that's the main venue that we fail in. So with that, you guys got anything on the way out?
No, it's just interesting, Keith, how the internet mirrors society when you think about it. I mean, whether it's, research groups in the real world, research groups on the web, it's the same percentage. So what we're seeing is what we're experiencing. It's just a reflection,
Yeah, and it's just a matter of the context. Again, when we're experiencing it in our private lives in the material world, that's a subjective view. And then when we enter into this metaverse, it becomes more of a objective view because you've got so many other people involved in the same instance, whether it be at the same time or pre-recorded and you're viewing it sometime later. You're still involved externally in that same instance, that same moment when it happened through these means that gives us such a greater comprehension of what actually happens. That's why video and pictures have become so important in our modern history, because it's much easier to translate that this guy known as Keith Little is much easier to recognize than some finger painting on a caveman wall, stick figure, Much more independent and singular. So anything else, guys?
Well,
Brother, I just wanted to kind of reiterate what the gentleman just talked about reflections. We are reflections of one another. And just like children, when a mother has a child and it comes into the world and you have mother and father, the child mimic what mother and father does because they come in as at a very observant state of mind. They come in to observe everything because everything is brand new to them. So,
Oh yeah,
I remember and and I remember in my young days as a child myself, I too observed my parent or mother and father. And so basically, if I saw things that I did not like or behavior that I did not like what I saw, I chose within myself at an early age not to behave in such manner. And the things that I thought was right and so to do, I took that within myself and I carried that on and I passed it on as traditions to my children. So again, you are right, both of you. We are reflections of one another, and the best way to govern ourselves is through observation so we can become better men and women. I yield.
absolutely. And that's one of those things that I learned about the various different religions that I was subjected to throughout growing up. And that is the basic concept of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Pure and simple. And so with that, guys, you know me, I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. And I say I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't respect me. And that's on you. So may God bless you and have a good night. We'll see you next time.